Alright, hey everyone. Haven't been making a ton of videos. I've been really busy with other stuff with my house and just working on my truck and whatnot. My plan is to start making some build videos when I get a chance of some more interesting stuff. But I just thought that since I'm working on this thing that I would make a video. It's a Ranger powered wheelchair here. Ranger X is what it is. It's an older model. I got this thing. This thing was donated. Somebody that I know needs one of these powered wheelchair. The manual one just isn't working anymore. So for free, you know what these things are worth. New, you're looking at about 16 grand for something like this. This one has a tilt recline type powered seat that'll go up and down. Not up and down, it just tilts back and forth. I don't know if I have the controller for it though, so I'm gonna have to look at that. You can get parts for these things online and they're surprisingly not that expensive. This one has been sitting for a while. The person that was donated off, a relative, gave it to me. They got it given to them because the person that was using it, I guess, I don't know who that is, I've never met him, apparently got a brand new one. So that's quite common for these things. You find them coming up used because the people that have them, if they've got a extended health care plan, or the people that their spouse has an extended health care plan, sometimes they can get a new one like every 4 years, some sort of program like that. So you get these things that aren't really, this one's been used pretty good I think, but you can get them that aren't really heavily used or wore out for pretty cheap because people just upgrade, they just get new ones. So the biggest thing with these I find is when you see them for sale, they usually need batteries, and this particular model takes, I think just pretty much all of them take group 24 batteries. They're wired in series. It's not real complicated how they're wired in the battery boxes that they take. It's a pretty simple setup. I can show you. I'll try and feature that in my video, I guess you could say. So I'll try and record how they're set up and whatnot and explain that. Basically it's just two 12-volt group 24s. They're wired in series to make 24 volts. That's what's going to power your drive motors. I don't know about the controls. They might just run off like a 12 volt or have a resistor in there for 5. You can see this one, the tires aren't great. I'm going to have to pump them up. They're still there. I think they'll be fine for indoor use and a little bit of outdoor use. This thing actually probably will go pretty good outside because you can see it's got okay ground clearance. Got the little wheelie bars and stuff. Batteries just slide, the battery boxes slide in there and they just plug together. It's super simple setup. Right there is the motor that tilts, and the mechanism, the actuator that tilts the seat. And this frame here and these hinges is how it tilts. So what I'd like to keep that mechanism. This thing has been sitting outside in a shed before I got it, which isn't great, in a fairly humid environment. When I got it, it's been sitting outside with a tarp over it in my yard, so it's got leaves, it's dirty, leaves and pine needles all over it. It's an older one. You can see that it's pretty crude. The newer ones are fabricated a little nicer. This one's had some stuff added to it. I don't know what this was for, some sort of hook that's coming off. Like somebody put a piece of steel rod through this armrest. Probably going to keep the armrests for the moment. Like I'll probably take them off, remove them, but I'll probably keep them around just in case we got to put them back on. I had people from the healthcare system tell me that you can't modify these and blah blah blah. It's got to be safe. It's got to you know, so it doesn't harm the person using it or other people. But if you look at how this thing's put together, it's super janky. It's sure this is all healthcare approved and rated or whatever, but the cushion on it was obviously destroyed, and that's not something you want to reuse anyway. This is the back cushion. You can see that it's pretty bad shape. I could probably almost tear that with my hand. And even though I think they're pretty good quality, this thing's just had, and the cushion isn't something that you want to reuse anyway. Somebody's been sitting in it for who knows how long. There's sanitation. The people at the care homes and the people that work in healthcare don't recommend reusing the seat. If you buy one of these used, the person selling it for liability purposes won't give you the seat cushion. Seat cushions are very expensive for these if you get one custom made, they're very nice and it's a good idea if you have the money to do it. But even one that's just fit for this wheelchair or for the person, like rated for the person, the width and their size and their weight and everything, they're nice, but they're going to cost you a minimum of like $300-400. When you find one of these things used, your batteries, your group 24 batteries, I don't believe that you have to use the batteries that come from the people who sell these wheelchairs. You can get some very nice lithium batteries, group 24s, 12 volt, and wire them up in there. I think that'd be great, but if you can't afford that, just go get some automotive batteries. I'm going to use these Optimas that I was able to salvage out of a vehicle that was going to auction, and replace them with some lead acid that I had. These aren't very old. They have been used, but they're not very old, and they had light use. They've been cycled quite a bit. I'm just topping them up with a charger there. So these are like a group 31 deep cycle battery. They're a gel cell. They're not going to give off a lot of hydrogen when they're charging. That's the one thing that's going to be a risk with these is, while the wheelchair is charging with a 24 volt charger, I think they use 24 volt chargers because that's a fast way to charge, and the batteries are wired up for 24. But you could use two 12 volt batteries like that, or pardon me, chargers like this one here, this little one, and they come with a plug-in. You could put a couple eyelets on your batteries, but it probably won't charge as fast as the 24. Anyway, the batteries that came out of this were lead acid. They would give off hydrogen when they were being charged at night or whenever you plugged them in. Here's the battery box covers, so you can see that they have these tiny little cables, which kind of surprises me. But these were all corroded up. I had to clean them up the other day. So they just slide together. The lids, it's kind of hard to film and show you how this works. But anyways, they just plug together here. These are two guide pins on the outside. They aren't energized. And in here is just your connection that slides in super easy. Then the connection to your wheelchair motors is right here. It just plugs in when you slide the battery boxes in the back of the chair there. So here's the, let's see, yeah, there you can see where the guide pins slide in on the sides, and then that's your connection right there. That's how it works. There's a tilt motor mechanism. So I'm going to try and keep this bottom frame though that tilts, and this frame, this is all part of it here where the stirrups go down. I don't know, I call these things stirrups, where the patient puts their feet, or the operator, whatever you want to call it. Then this has a hinge in the back, and it tilts up and down with that electric tilt mechanism. Like I said, I don't know how that's controlled. I don't think I have the controller for it, but I'm sure that's something I can get online, or I can probably build something, because it's only 3 wires that I see coming out of there. So I might be able to build something that'll just go ahead and make that tilt up and down, because I'm sure it's just an on-off switch. So here's on-off power switch here. Hopefully that works. And then the speed, which is just a resistor, and then your joystick for control. This thing's made by Ivancare, I see. Anyway, there's been some add-on stuff. I think that's to hold the person's head up. Right now, we don't need that. You're probably wondering what I'm going to do for a seat. So like the newer, more modern ones that are less crude, they usually just have like a leather captain's seat out of a van. So I found this one out of the back of a van, and I kind of wanted a power mechanism for the bottom, but the truck I was going to steal it out of went to the crusher, unfortunately, so I don't have that. But what I'd like to do is somehow mount this thing. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it, but because this is in a van, I'd like to mount it so that I can still reuse these hooks and the latches in the back, and then you can fold it up like it is right now, and then you can just detach it and take it right off the wheelchair. And if I have the control, the joystick still mounted on here, then you could just wheel it around with that, with the seat taken right off, and it would make it very compact. However, that being said, if I leave this mounted up here, it's going to be pretty tall anyway, and with that seat folded up, it's going to make it pretty low. So I might have to to get my height, I might have to just unbolt this bottom part of the seat and try and keep these tracks to go, because I want to still have the forward back adjustment on this, which will just be like in the minivan, just released with this bar right here, and then click back in when you get to where you want to slide it forward and back. So the height though is what I'm worried about, because if you look at the height from here to here, to the top of the cushion down to here, you're looking at like 12 inches there. Now if I want to keep the tilt, the recline on this, I'm gonna have to, the minimum height is going to be right here. I think the cushion on here might be maximum 6 inches. So if I put that other seat on, and the lowest I can go is here, it's going to add, like, you know, the bottom of the seat is going to be way up here by this control, and what that's going to do is raise the center of gravity and raise where the patient sits so high that it could become a little bit tippy then. These things, all the weight's really low slung, like it's not going to be super tippy anyway. But that is something that's going to be a concern. I think the cushion, ideally the cushion of that new seat should be at the height of this plastic plate here. It's pretty cheesy construction on this thing. Like I was saying, that I mentioned it to a care aide type person who works with patients, you know, deals with walkers and whatnot, equipment I guess for disabled people, and she's always after me not to modify anything because it's not going to be rated for the health the healthcare system kind of thing, and I can understand that. We can't go and build custom brake calipers and put them on a truck, and you know, you can get in trouble for that kind of thing because there's liability issues involved. However, this is kind of goofy because that seat is engineered. It's used in something that goes down the highway at probably capable of 100 miles an hour. It's rated for a collision at that speed. I'm not worried about that in this thing. This thing isn't going 100 miles an hour. Look at the seat that it came with. There was a cushion on top of that, but it doesn't get any flimsier and crappier than that, and it's rated for 300 pounds, pardon me. So to put a heavy-duty seat out of a van in it, out of the back of a minivan, it's got the fold-up armrest. That's what I wanted the most, and I really like the way it folds down like this, so that you could get that wheelchair in underneath a truck canopy or something if you wanted to transport it that way. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm not going to worry about it. I see all the new ones have that almost exact seat, most of the new wheelchairs. So I'm just going to go ahead and put it on and not say anything. And it's going to modernize this wheelchair. It's going to be comfortable, and it's going to be a real improvement. And it's going to work really good for the patient that needs it. It's got the fold down armrest, so there's not going to be a bunch of problems with stability that way, of falling off of it. These things, look at these things. Like, sure, they probably are pretty strong. Like, I'm not going to bend that real easy, but at the same time, it's just a cheesy little setup. It's the minimum wall thickness of pipe in there that this is built out of. It's not real sturdy, and that's rated for whatever rating you need for something for somebody to ride around on. So tire is pretty bad on this side. Probably gonna have to figure out if I can get a new tire. This one's not too bad. Gonna wash those up. Like I say, this is gonna be indoor use and maybe a little bit of light outdoor use depending on what the deal is with COVID-19 and the pandemic we're under right now. They're talking about that going on for a while, so at the moment I think it's going to be fine. If it's outside on a sidewalk or an asphalt surface in a courtyard, those tires are going to work out just fine. If she's able to get out and go home, then maybe I'll have to do something about I'll zoom in here on the tire, about the tread on that tire, because she's looking a little bald there. I don't know, maybe this guy is doing donuts with it or something, or right hand turns constantly or left hand turns, I don't know. So it doesn't look like much right now, but I think this is going to be a fun little project. I'm going to be at the shop pretty late tonight. It doesn't really matter, I'm on call anyway, so I can't leave town. That's usually when I do stuff like this, is when I've got to be close to work so I can respond. I'm going to try and change those stirrups. I see that the newer wheelchairs newer models usually have something that's attached to this frame that goes down and then folds out, so the person the operator, I don't know what you call patient, I don't know, I'll say operator, can put their feet on that, and then it folds back up when they don't want to have their feet on it. I'll just have to make sure that it clears the wheels. These stirrup things, footrests, just barely clear the wheels right now, but if I build something that's going to have to be pretty sturdy, I'm going to have to weld it on or bolt it onto this frame here. Probably bolt it. It'll have to come down, and then I was thinking about possibly using, well, those hinges are totally cheesy, but I'd like something that kind of clips up like that. I might even use these and just clearance them, because they've got some rollers and stuff on them, or I might just make something brand new. But it's going to look better than this. I might use some of the hardware out of this so it looks like it's factory, and the nurses and stuff don't realize that it's something that I've fabricated and it's not rated. Trust me, it's going to be strong when I'm done. So probably just one post coming down from here with the spine on it, like a chunk of square tubing, and then it'll have to be adjustable, so I'll have to put a hitch pin or something through it, drill a bunch of holes, or maybe I can find something around in the scrap yard, like a signpost that I can use for that, and I'll make it look real nice and pretty. And then this part will be made out of aluminum. I might even reuse these ones here. But see, it's an older unit. It's a little more crude. Like the newer ones, you just don't see this kind of hardware attach points and stuff. That's kind of nice that it has these rollers so that if those are folded up, they're gonna hit something, they'll roll over it. Anyway, the first thing I'm going to do is slap the batteries in this sucker and see if it works. That's going to be the determining factor. If this doesn't work anymore, because I know that my experiences with electronics, and this thing sat in a coastal environment in a shed, very humid, lots of salt water close by. My experience has been when you don't use this stuff, even if it's a phone sitting in a sea can and you go to a storage auction and get it, a friend of mine was doing that, half the time they don't work anymore. So I don't know what the motors look like inside. I can see the outside of them, they're pretty corroded. I'll be cleaning all this stuff up when if it works, but you can see that, you know, it's been exposed to water. I had it covered up with a tarp, but it still was outside, and that's not ideal, unfortunately, because I guess this thing worked. It just needed batteries when I got it. Anyway, I hope it works, and it's going to be a fun little project. Get that new seat on here and a new footrest, and clean up some of the wiring and that on it, and it's going to look like a high dollar unit. So I just wanted to show what it looks like right now. Kind of ugly and dirty and nothing special, but hopefully by the end of the night tonight it's going to be a pretty nice looking unit. So I don't know how many people are interested in building stuff like this. I know that I'm going to start, like I said, some cool builds right now. I'm working on a shop right now. When my shop's done, my channel's going to have some really interesting builds, and it's going to be stuff like you're going to see on DeBoss Garage and that kind of thing. I'm going to start off with some lower budget stuff, but if things take off and I start getting some work, I'll be building some nicer cars and trucks. These are the battery boxes right here for it. I just had to wash them out. But anyways, the Group 24 batteries will fit right in there, and then those lids that I was showing you over there with the cables in them, they're going to go onto it, and the Optima's in there. So I'm going to work on that right now. Battery's going dead in the camera, so I'll have to update when I get this thing going.